Well, howdy. We are once again having a second cup of coffee conversation here with Dr. Deana Steeber, who's Superintendent of Sulphur Springs ISD. We're going to talk about some fairly substantial things here today, but before we did that, I enjoyed your video that you did on your Facebook page when we had some snow.
Yes, yes.
You called a couple of young men into your office and asked their advice.
We did, yes. They were a big help.
So
they reached consensus.
Yes, yeah. The question was, should we close school for snow? And,
yes.
And no surprise, they gave you the advice
yes.
that
they were strong yeses.
It's going to be best to close school. So that was fun, and you do a great job with
thank
the Facebook page and your communications. So the legislature is in session. Of course, the biennial session of the legislature is well underway and been going now for several weeks. I know this is not your favorite thing, but I mean the momentum for school choice does seem to be growing. It'd be, as I understand it, $10,000 for families to, if they want to send their kids to private school. But I saw in an article that I shared with you, there's also apparently plans to bring in $5 billion, I think it was, in new money for public schools. And that would include a $4,000 annual pay raise for teachers, and it said an additional $6,000 for rural teachers. And I don't know if Sulphur Springs qualifies as rural or not.
Yeah.
So does that make you feel any better about the situation?
Not really, and the reason why is, the proposal now is $10,000 for, a student in a private school.
Yeah.
We currently receive $6,150 per student, and they're looking at increasing that to $6,500. So I don't see the math that they get to $4,000 through a $350 per student increase. And then just the discrepancy between the two is.
So, and I see what you mean. If you're going to give $10,000 to families to send children to a private school, and yet the amount of money per student, per child, is less than that for each public school. What about the salary increases for teachers? Is that encouraging?
Well, so salaries are paid through that student allotment. That's our only access to money on the M&O side, really. So, that's what I was saying. I don't see how a $350 per student increase equates to $4,000 or $6,000, annual raise for teachers.
And the $350 per student increase you're referring to, could you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So right now the proposal is, like you said, $10,000 per student in private school, and $6,500 per student in public school. And so that's a $350 increase from what we currently get.
I see. Okay. So you remain skeptical of the numbers, shall we say?
Sure. I'm not sure how they get to $4,000 annual raise from that.
You have, and there's something like I saw 66% support among the public for the savings accounts, and yet you passed a major bond issue here last year, which I know you're still very proud of, and you should be.
Sure.
So that obviously indicates a high level of support for public schools in Sulphur Springs, anyway.
Sure. I mean, about 95% of students in Texas attend a public school. So I do think there's a lot of support for, for public schools, and I think there's a tremendous amount of support for public schools in our area, specifically in Hopkins County.
Do you have any thoughts on why there's as much support as there is for homeschooling, for vouchers?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think, a lot of that is coming, from our legislators. While I do think that, there is some support for, ESAs for private schools.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that everyone understands, at least, parents or community members, I'm not sure that they understand the inequity in what they're proposing. On one hand, saying that, they believe we have enough to educate our students, yet it's not enough if they were to attend private school, right? They need $10,000 if they were to attend private school.
Yeah. The cost of, for whatever reason, cost of.
Yes, and I think most people would feel a lot better about it if it was equitable. If it's $10,000 per student, then it'd be $10,000 per student.
Well, that's something that maybe that word needs to be put in the ear of.
We could do a lot as far as salary-wise for our teachers and staff in general if we were, to get an increase like that.
Well, there is a large budget surplus, $24 billion is what I read. So it's you don't know what might be possible there.
Sure.
We're almost out of time. Do you have? And I know you're hoping this doesn't come about, but do you have plans for responding to it if it does? Is there things you might do differently, or in addition to what you already do? Or
it would depend on what it looked like.
Yeah.
How much are we going to get, and is it a funded mandate or is it an unfunded mandate?
Yeah.
Because we've seen both.
Yeah.
And that will determine how we, how we have to proceed.
So at this point, it's very hard to make plans.
Sure.
Really,
sure.
for how you would cope with that. Okay, we're out of time, but we'll visit again.
Absolutely.
Very soon. Good. Dr. Deana Steeber, Superintendent of Sulphur Springs ISD. I'm John Mark Dempsey. This is KSST.